To other news now. In about an hour's time, the period that political parties have to lodge objections to the people on the candidate list submitted by parties will close. That period opened yesterday. Parties are allowed to look at the lists of candidates and lodge their objections. As you know, there's a huge amount of heat around the elections at the moment. Of course, the Electoral Court yesterday ruling that Mosotho Moepya was properly registered. The chair of the Electoral Commission is Mosotho Moepya. Mr. Moepya, good afternoon to you and thank you for your time. Firstly, do you know at this stage if there's been a large number of objections so far?
Well, good afternoon to you, Stephen, and the viewers, wherever they may be. It's good to be. Thank you for inviting us, rather. We have a fair amount of objections. The time has not closed. I have disrupted that time to come and update you and your viewers on the work we are doing, what it entails, and to confirm indeed that at 5, in about 54 minutes, time, we will be closing all the objections, and the Commission will make known the outcomes of the objections we have received tomorrow.
I don't know if you can go into specifics, but I have to ask. The first candidate from Mosotho Moepya is the former President, Jacob Zuma. As I understand the law, I'm not a lawyer, but as I understand the law, he's not allowed to go to Parliament. Do you know if anyone's lodged an objection to him yet?
Stephen, I know you want the answer, but we are not in the position to do so. It really is like, you know, we are hearing cases, we are in court, and the judge is being asked, where do you think this is going to end? And the matter is still underway. So I know that South Africa wants to hear what is in, you know, what's on our table, what are we considering, but we will prejudice the process if we were to do that. We do plan to make known tomorrow when you know, we are required to do so in terms of the election timetable. We would have to you know, inform the objectors and the parties or candidates against whom the objections were made, and then to say what the outcome of these things were. We will certainly do so.
Mr. Moepya, I knew you knew the question was coming, and I knew that answer was coming too, and I know it's the correct one. As I understand it, the Chief Electoral Officer has the power to lodge an objection against a candidate as well. Does the window for them, that would be Simon Mabolo in this case, does the window for the Chief Electoral Officer to lodge an objection also close at 5 p.m. today? Absolutely.
It closes at 5 for everyone. He has no, you know, preferential treatment, and he's not bound by anything to object or not to object. It's when, in fact, something is so, for him, is so clear that the candidate or something has happened that he would put in an objection like that. And so we will see if he has done by 5 today, if he has at all. But I must say, Stephen, if you'd allow me to, one of the important things in the hour that we have left is that many of the objectors are missing out on a very simple thing that they really need to do. They need to object to a candidate and serve that objection on the party that nominated that candidate or the candidate, the person who nominated the independent candidate. And that is very, very clear requirement in law. They must also not just make allegations. They are required to provide us with evidence or supporting documents as they put their objections. They mustn't say, as far as I'm informed, this person is going through a court process. It must be a finalized matter. It must be a matter that can no longer be dealt with via, you know, an appeal or anything. In other words, all legal remedies have been exhausted and the outcome is clear. Those kind of things, that really is what we want to have before us.
Okay, I didn't realize that. So if someone wants to object to Stephen Groote standing as a candidate for the political party Newzroom Afrika, someone actually has to bring a piece of paper to me to tell me that they're objecting to me standing as a candidate. Is that right?
If Stephen Groote is an independent, they must do so. They must tell your nominator because even as an independent candidate, you will have somebody that nominated you. So they must then go and say, Stephen was nominated by Mosotho. Mosotho has an objection against Stephen as an independent. If it is a party, they must go to that party that nominated that candidate. They must say, party 1, 2, 3, I, Stephen Protes, am objecting against Mosotho Moepya, who is a candidate on your list, and these are the reasons why I'm doing so.
Okay. It's quite a tight window for the objections. It's just 2 days. And if you look at the sort of working hours, it's really sort of 16, maybe 18 hours. Why is it only, I know there's a whole timetable that revolves around this, but why is it so tight?
You know, Stephen, that's a very good question. That requires a lot of time when we can find the time. The election timetable, as we know it, you know, and let me make life very easy. Since 1999, at the least, has changed quite a lot. It used to be very brief, but had a lot of, you know, instances where the time frame was more than sufficient. A lot has changed, amongst others. The inspection of lists, the inspection of the voters' rolls and people being objected to. Those things have added onto the election timetable as we knew it then to what we now have it. It is currently, this one has about 86 days, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of the things that are in the 86 days have had to live side by side with ensuring that the public have an insight into who is standing as their candidate, who is on the voters' roll, who should be included when they should be excluded, and who is excluded when they should in fact be included. And all of those things, we have put them in this election timetable, and we did accept that it will be the commission that is put under pressure and not the public. As commissioners, we only had yesterday and today to receive these things and consider them. We must finalize our decisions tomorrow. That is time, but it is work we in the commission would have to manage and would have to acquit ourselves and complete in the time that is given. We have not taken that time away from parties, candidates, and the general public.
So you only have 24 hours to make decisions about the objections.
Well, let me give you an insight. We started yesterday. Whatever we had yesterday, we worked on it. We have been at it since early today. We are still sitting and looking at those things. When the window closes at 5, we will know, what amount of work is left. I don't have to tell you what arrangements we will make after that. But truth of the matter is that we will have to go through them, and we must be ready tomorrow and be happy with the decisions that we have taken. And so far, so good. We have a plan. We are managing our schedule, and we are on course to complete the work that is before us.
If there's a big dispute, Mr. Moepya, I presume it would go to the electoral court if someone was objected to and removed, or someone was objected to and not removed. The parties, would they go to the electoral court if they disagree with your decision?
Absolutely, Stephen. There is, in fact, in the election timetable, we need to look at this work, and whoever is not satisfied with our decision will have to take us to the electoral court to find remedy, to say, electoral court, I'm not happy that the commission has considered this thing properly, and they would then have to appeal to the electoral court. And the date to lodge those appeals with the electoral court is the 2nd of April.
Okay, so
it is on the election timetable, and then the court will have to deal with those appeals by the 9th of April. None of us is spared, the time frames, including the court itself.
Sure. Mr. Moepya, you're the chair of the Electoral Commission. We've never seen a situation as contentious as this in our politics. 2029 may be more contentious, I suppose. I know the 2021 local elections were quite difficult because of the pandemic. But you're coming under more and more pressure. Yesterday you won in the Electoral Court. I imagine you breathed a sigh of relief, although you would have received legal opinions on your decisions and would have received legal advice. How are you feeling ahead of these elections? You're going to come under a huge amount of pressure.
You know, Stephen, and I want to say it with great humility, and I mean, you appreciate our environment. You've been with us for a while, following these things and working on these things. If I'm not mistaken, and I really say it with great humility, it's been over a year that we have not lost a case, and we have quite a lot of them. Every one of them is very different. But one of the things we have really sought to do is to play the game completely by the rules, play within the rules that are provided for, the law that is. And I must tell you, court is not our first point of call. We try and get parties to settle on what we believe is the position in law. And it's only when we cannot find a solution one way or the other. And I'm talking about proper ways of settling. We're not doing deals to say this is the right thing, this is what the law requires, and this is what you need to do to comply. When people don't do that, we then go to court having shown that we have tried to settle the matter, how we try to deal with it, why we now believe we're at the point where the matter now needs the attention of the court. And I think it just tells you that we think things through very carefully before we go to court. And we are grateful. The pressure is always there in an election. And I'm not saying that there will not be something that we don't get right, but I'm saying to you and the viewers, it's not by chance. We're not taking chances and doing this and that and the other. We are trying to do it as well as we are required to do it, as well as the law says we should do it. And if in that process we disagree with a major stakeholder, a minor stakeholder, a friend, a foe, whatever it is, then we go to court, not on a personal basis, but armed with what the position is objectively. And that is really why we are grateful. We do not go to court frivolously. We don't go to court without preparing. And that possibly explains why we would go to court and obviously get a favorable outcome in this instance. Court is difficult. One day we will go and it may not favor us in the same manner. We've got to learn from that process as well.
Mosotho Moepya, sir, I really appreciate the time. I know it's very busy. Thank you very much indeed. 42 minutes now for people to go and lodge their objections against the candidates of political parties. Mosotho Moepya is the chair of the Electoral Commission.